Hello, I am Brother Kelly Hughes, Chaplain of the Arts. We are broadcasting live to tape from the beautiful Valiant Theatre here in the heart of Winnipeg's greasy tenderloin. This is Kelly Hughes Live Slices Fringe edition. Every year we do this very thing. This is I think we've done 13 hours so far. So tune into 101.5 UMFM throughout the week. They're airing them, I don't know when, willy-nilly. And then also you can find us on YouTube, where we live until the sun swallows the earth. Thank you so much for stopping by. Appreciate it. And thank you so much to my one lovely guest, Karin Fekko. How you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
Great. We were supposed to have Martin Dockery, but he's like arguing with, his website company and Erica McDonald, but she actually came down with something and had to cancel a show.
Both those things are a lot less fun than this.
Yeah, but isn't that like having to cancel a show is like bad, right? Like
I didn't realize she was canceling a show.
Yeah.
That's really unfortunate.
Yeah. But we're here, and so that is exciting. So I'll ask you the question I ask everybody. Just tell everyone, a little bit about yourself, where you're based, why you exist, and then give the elevator pitch for your show.
Okay, sure, yeah. Should I tell them or you?
Yeah, no, you talk to me, and that'll just fly on the wall.
All right, hello.
I mean, some people do like to talk to the camera, but it's not really,
So yeah, I'm Toronto-based, and I'm a professor, actually, so that's my full-time life. I started doing comedy and storytelling 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so I started doing Fringe last year. Mm-hmm. And so last year was my first time doing Fringe tour. Mm-hmm. This is my second time here in Winnipeg and at Winnipeg Fringe. Mm-hmm. And so my show this year is called Who's Gonna Push Your Wheelchair? Yeah, it's a solo storytelling show. And I would say dark humor, heavy stuff with comedy woven throughout. It's about, I would say, love and illness and freedom. And it chronicles the last 15 years of my life and a fight for independence in the face of chronic illness, and in my case, multiple sclerosis. And I'd say the universal need to find support in the world that empowers you and doesn't take away your autonomy.
So did you want people to know about all those things? Is that why you got off your comfortable tenured ass? I don't know if you're tenured, but is that why you went out into, to the unknown?
Yeah, I mean, so last year I did a show here called Multiple Neurosis, and it was about hiding my illness for 17 years. And so I'm one of many people that, sort of lives in the closet, as it were, with my chronic illness, is afraid of workplace discrimination and just general discrimination. Mm-hmm. And so once I started being public about it, I decided to go super public about it. Mm-hmm. And I wrote a one-woman show because I knew that I wasn't alone in that experience. And the show landed really well last year. It was a treat to do. There was a lot of stuff that I never got to. That show's really about internalized ableism and my relationship with myself. And this show is about my relationship with everybody else, because disability and illness happens in a community. And I really wanted to talk about how that can impact relationships.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because, and I'm kind of glad, I mean, I would have been happy if those two were here, but I'm kind of glad to be sitting here having this discussion with you, because I feel like when I interview people during Fringe, everybody's, all the performers are all go. Sometimes people are doing 2 shows and people are, just like kind of really giving her, and you've got to you're kind of up here, and so, not that people aren't thoughtful, but I mean, people don't know, want to sort of, sink into the depths of despair as you're in the middle of your run. So, and a lot of people's, even though people have serious subject matter, like a lot of the shows are like, when my dad died 5 years ago, these are all the things that I went through and dealt with. But a lot of that stuff is kind of past tense. So you are talking about stuff that's happening now and in the future. And so that's got different weight to it because we don't know how it ends, right?
No, I definitely don't know how it ends. And yeah, I mean, in my case, MS, and for a lot of people, and a lot of people with chronic illness, they're invisible, and so people don't see them when they talk to you, don't take that from you when they're hanging out with you. Oh, you seem so well, and that's understandable. And so I like to do shows where I'm there in real life, usually in interesting stockings is my favorite thing to do because my legs are very unreliable. They're very weak. I have to sit regularly. And I like the cognitive dissonance that can happen when someone's like, oh, that's someone who's dealing with disability in their legs, and I can't tell. And I think it helps people.
Because your legs look terrible, but they don't do any. I mean, look great, but sorry, but they don't do any. They don't always do the things you want them to do.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah.
It's so hard talking to my my partner and I both live with mental illness and some chronic illness. So there's some, kind of with the mental illness stuff, there's some parallels because like you kind of, sometimes you just hate talking about it because you know that people are just gonna, like my mom is pretty out of it now, she's 96, but when I don't know, 10 years ago or whatever, when I first started telling her about my mental health, she would say stuff like I'd go pick her up to take her somewhere and she'd say, well, you seem fine to me. And I had to explain to her one day, I'm like, okay, so when you see a person, who lives with mental illness or who lives with a chronic illness, and you see them out in the world because they've showed up to take you somewhere or they're meeting you somewhere or whatever, like they have pulled their shit together to be out in the world. And if they're not, if that person is like really not okay, they canceled on you, and so but otherwise you just like pull every little tiny bit of everything that you've got together to do this thing because you said you were going to do this fucking thing, and then you get the you seem fine to me, which is like sort of infuriating. So I mean, I don't know. How does that make you feel when you hear that?
I mean, I know what you mean, but I also feel like there's so much work to be done in just awareness, chronic illness awareness, invisible disability awareness, disability awareness. And so I feel like I'm just focused on spreading awareness because also people can't know until you tell them. And I know what you're saying. And I feel like I try to show an example and so that people might think twice before coming to an assumption if they meet someone that seems well, as it were. But yeah, there's a lot of work to be done in awareness. I think everyone who talks about it is doing that job. Yeah.
And when you've got an audience, when you're doing a thing that's 45 or 60 minutes long, you can do whatever you're doing, and you can make them listen to whatever you want them to listen to, and they can't say anything. So, and I do think that theater is I can't think of many better ways for people to learn empathy and for people to learn that we're all the same and whatever. So I do think when somebody does have to sit there and listen to you, I mean, they've paid their money, but you can, if you're doing a good job, by the end of it, they're going to get it, right?
Yeah, and I think storytelling is so incredibly powerful. And so initially, because I come from I was a dancer many years ago, but then it was like 30-year break from the stage. And but as a professor and educator, honestly, I really wanted to spread awareness and invite people into these experiences. And the way to do that is through stories. And so I did a serious deep dive into understanding really the craft of storytelling. And so you can walk out of a show with new ideas, but you know them because you remember that woman that you saw and that thing that she told you about, versus a piece of information in a lecture, which is much harder to hold on to because there's no emotional component. And so I think it's a really effective way to spread knowledge. You know?
Does it feel important for you to do this before it gets harder?
Like my illness, you mean?
Because do you know Deb Patterson?
Yeah.
So, and you know, and she's been doing theater forever, and she's, you know, I think uses a wheelchair all the time now.
Yeah, people told me all about her when I came into town last year.
Yeah.
Like, do you know Deb Patterson? Do you know?
Yeah.
And I said, no. And so I actually went to her show, Happy Valley. And so it was wonderful. I don't know her personally, but I really enjoyed it. And so, but I think with however life happens for you and whatever your human body does, you just find a way to live your life through it. So I don't think about that so much. I do think about other things like
Tell me what you think about.
Well, I do talk about it in my show, a real desire to sort of live my best life while my legs are still working. And I talk about feeling like it's the last time I'm going to be able to be young and sexy, because I talk also about losing feeling in my body and in my private parts, and there's nothing to make you feel less hot, I think, than that, and so I definitely felt at a time around 30 years old, my early 30s, where things were really coming into play, of starting to have problems with my legs. I was starting to have more problems that I couldn't pretend weren't there, feeling like I want to live my best life. And so I think it pushed me to have maybe more experiences than I have with just, travel, love, risks, all of it.
Yeah, you've had all the things. You're getting all the things.
Yeah, and I do think that theater can be a very inclusive place. I think if someone asked me too lately, because I said, oh, my legs feel like jello, and I did this podcast with these lovely men, and they were like, well, what do you use as a mobility aid? And I said, well, right now I just sit down, and in the show, actually, I crouch down because these are my current mobility aids. And so I think I'm right on the edge of it would be very useful to me. I just haven't crossed over feeling ready. But I think if one is using mobility aid, if one is using a wheelchair, you can still, perform. And actually my show this year uses a chair, a sort of stool and a bed. And last year I stood the whole time because I was used to stand-up comedy. And this year I sit all the time during the show. And I was like, this is amazing. I didn't realize by sort of acting out the show, I made this amazingly inclusive show for myself where I'm like sitting down all the time. That said, I have to get up a lot. And I'm like, oh, I didn't take it into consideration. But yeah, no, I'm not worried about the future, actually. I'm really not.
What do you want people to know? What do you want people to do? Awareness, what does that mean?
Well, I think a lot of it for me is people not feeling alone. And so if ever I have a platform, I always talk about a really important statistic, which is that 45% of Canadian adults live with at least one chronic illness. This is just our human body, and I think we live in a world where we compare it to some sort of invincible, idealized self, but that is not the human body. Things happen to us. Disability is common, chronic illness is common. I don't think people talk about them enough. And so for me, I think is to deeply normalize it, because it is incredibly normal. And so, yeah, I would say that's the top thing that I think about all the time.
Well, we sort of, we pretend that we don't have, that those things are not, we don't live with those things. It's like, how, I'm paraphrasing this wrong, but the thing about how poor people don't think of themselves as being poor. They think of themselves as being temporarily embarrassed millionaires. You ever hear that?
No.
And that's and I think that's the same thing with living with chronic illnesses. I think you think, well, I'm me plus this thing, or plus this thing. Maybe get rid of that thing, then I'll just be me again. But I mean, it's all you. You kind of and the things that are more obvious, if you end up in a wheelchair, I mean, you're going to have to talk to people about those things. But other times, like you say, the invisible illnesses, I mean, they're often, invisible because we don't want to tell people, like you say, because of
true.
all the reasons, because everybody is supposed to be, this, like everybody's, supposed to be average. Everybody's supposed to be, whatever it is. And that's, I think that mostly we don't want to stand out. Like I've been doing some testing, like for ADHD and stuff, with a psychologist, and he asked me about he asked me about elementary school, about like hanging out with the kids, and like if I liked it or what. He asked me something about that, and I said, I spent the whole time trying to figure out how to kind of look like everybody else, so that I would just, I wasn't really trying to have fun. I wasn't trying to be the most popular guy. I was just trying to like fit in. I was trying to I didn't want people to know that I was different, because my brain worked different. And I think that we just, so many of us want that. I mean, we just desperately want to be plugged back into the matrix, and then just pretend everything is fine.
Sorry, I just want to say that is like ableist society. That is like, that's ableist mindset, and that's internalized ableism. And it's something that I think we still have to work really hard to press against.
And you're saying like 45% of Canadians live with this, chronic illness. So I mean, it's barely even, ableism is barely even the majority,
Yes, ableism is an attitude.
But I mean, it represents barely even, the able are barely even 50% of people, right? We all have our stuff.
Yeah. And I think, chronic illness, at least in my case, I was ashamed. I felt like I did something wrong. I was embarrassed about it. There is workplace discrimination. That is something real as well. But I also didn't want people to, see me differently. And it was really interesting when I started to come out and talk about my MS in the workplace and whatnot. People's responses as well, like, you're doing well. Your MS must be going really well for you. And it's a strange like. You can't.
Yeah, it's going great.
You can't. You just can't know what's going on. But also people can't know until you tell them. And so I just embed it in my shows. I don't even point at it. It's like the best, feminist TV show, or just a bunch of women in power, power, just living their best life. For me, I just talk about my vision going blurry and my body being numb, stuff that people don't associate with MS. I just talk about it.
When were you diagnosed?
21 years ago.
So, and then you kept it sort of hidden for a long time. And I guess 21 years ago, I guess the internet was a thing. Did you find? I mean, were you looking on the internet for other people that were dealing with? I mean, did you go there as like a resource, or to find people, or to find stories or communities, or no? You just,
I didn't want anything to do
nothing.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I understood even then that all of your Google search history was recorded. So I was just paranoid about it. I mean, even with the MS Society, I didn't want them sending me mail because I didn't want MS in my mail. Like I was this level of not want. I felt that level of threat, and so I didn't actually have a conversation with anybody who had MS like outside of a hospital waiting room until I started doing this show. So it's been, I guess, a year and change of talking to one after another people with MS, but all kinds of chronic illness, mental health challenges. And so if anything, it's been so normalized just by my own experience. And by the end of last summer, honestly, it was the first time I felt totally okay about having MS. Like I 100% feel totally okay about it. I don't.
Well, of course you don't feel afraid about the future because you spent so long being afraid, which is, I mean, that you wake up every morning and you got that sick feeling when you're keeping a secret and when you're, keeping, trying to present a certain thing and keeping parts of yourself hidden. That's like very stressful.
Yeah.
That physically takes a toll on a person.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know any, different, but when you don't talk to people, you don't have community as well. And so this year's the first year I ever went to an MS walk, and just seeing all these people, this is an annual charity walk where money is raised and it's done everywhere. And just seeing all these people, not just with MS, but their family and friends, we're like matching T-shirts for like, team whoever. I'm walking for my mom or my sister or my brother. So I finally found community, and I think that's what I realized on the other side of it. That's the hardest thing about living in secrecy, is that you don't have community, and the community is really important.
Did you, did you tell anybody, like your partners or family or?
Yeah, I mean, I had a serious partner then, so, serious partners that I've had, I've told you have to, that's normal to me. Although I've certainly dated people and not told them. And I think there's a point in the relationship where you have to. And I talk about it in this show because whenever I've told a partner, even though theoretically I know that I'm worth loving with the illness, part of me is prepared to be discarded after I tell them. And I think a lot of people sort of like the idea of supporting a partner with a chronic illness, but are not necessarily up to it. And so it can be challenging to, negotiate relationships. I think.
Why do you think you felt so much shame? Like it was your fault?
I think because I grew up in a bit of a perfectionist environment. Everything was very clean and organized and had to be just so. I'm a total perfectionist myself. And so...
Perfectionist is just somebody who can't get anything right.
Isn't that the truth? And someone who's terrified of failure. And so for me, that's how it landed, that it was some kind of failure on my part.
It's so funny how we can hold these ideas. And I mean, if you had met someone else with a chronic illness, you probably wouldn't have said that they had failed because their body was failing. You probably wouldn't have put that on them.
Yeah.
But it's amazing the how we just kind of how we can be kind and rational and whatever when it comes to other people, and then when it comes to us, we hold these like stupid ideas.
It's true.
That are just like, because I'm always like, this is the thing I talk to my therapist about all the time, like I'm a failure and this and that and whatever. And then she says, well, what about, like my partner doesn't work. Well, what about Andy? Oh no, Andy's doing their best, I say. But me, I'm the, and I mean, I'm just running my ass off and doing all these things, but yet it's just like, and I think, I feel like, I mean, there's I guess different reasons, but I feel like part of it is like, if you make it your fault, then maybe you can fix it. For me, you know what I mean? Like if it's my fault, then maybe if I work a bit harder, or if I can, you know what I mean? Maybe there's as opposed to just a thing you just have to accept. Like this is just a thing, because I like to be able to do, probably like you do, like to be able to fix things. I like to be able to, so just saying, like even when, like my therapist will say, well, you're probably gonna be like this, and you're never gonna get any better, and all you have to do is just try to, live with it better and whatever, and blah blah blah. And I just am like, ugh, because like, I mean, I guess at this point I don't really think there's a magic wand, but I mean that would be nice if like if this thing could just be fine, or that thing could just be fine. Yeah.
I just feel like I want to say the word control, because you're talking about like whether or not if I feel like I can fix it, like that is the stuff of wanting to be able to control something that you may have little to no control over. And I think that those are the most difficult things to be able to process and let go.
Yeah, my therapist and I talk about unsolvable problems all the time, and she talks about just sitting with and being with an unsolvable problem, and especially before in my life, like I spent a lot of time trying to control outcomes, and I spent a lot of time like sort of being manipulative, and I didn't know that I was doing that. I wouldn't have, if you'd said I was doing that, I would have been like, what? But I mean, for sure, I was married to a challenging person, and, we had a lot of moving parts in our life and a lot of things going on. And so I would, like every day I would just try to control the outcomes. And that was a big thing that I learned, was like, all you can do is what you can do, and what seems right, and what seems good, and what's the right thing for you, and then whatever happens or whatever anybody else does is up to them.
Yeah.
Which is depressing that you can't fix it, but it's liberating in that you're, once you do that, you're done. Once you do your best, you're done, and there's no point in worrying about what's going to happen with it, but it takes a long time to, when your brain runs in that rut forever, it takes a long time to retrain yourself and move away from that. But I understand the feeling of sort of, I understand the good feeling that you must have from being out and being open and being honest. Because I remember when I sort of, decided to start being honest, like, I remember how good that felt. Like, I mean, some people like never want to talk to you again because they can't deal with it. But I mean, there's so many other people that are like, hey, because I talk about my mental illness on social media, and I've been doing that for a long time. And you're getting the same response when you're doing your shows. Like people say to you, hey, I live with this thing, and just hearing you say all this just makes me feel so encouraged, and like I'm not alone, and like like it just really lifts people up. Because in a lot of ways you're talking about awareness, but I mean, in a lot of cases you're talking to the people that are living with the same things that you are. I mean, you're encouraging those people, and you're showing those people hope, and in addition to raising awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. It's both. And that's some people have asked me always, is your audience people with chronic illness and MS? And I'm like, Absolutely not. You know, it's for everybody, and on some end it's awareness, but on the other, I think it's people feeling seen, and I think that's so important, just to be able to relate to aspects of other stories, because there's just humanity in storytelling that always, you know, brings people together. And I talk about one story where, you know, I had a major manic bipolar episode that was triggered by MS medication. They often give people steroids. And yeah, never asked me if bipolar runs in the family or anything like that, just boop, boop. And anyways, you know, long story short, I lost the better part of a year. I was overseas. I was in graduate school. I stopped going. I spent money that I didn't have. I slept with a bunch of people that I regretted, you know, and on the other side of it.
As one does.
And on the other side of it, you know, my career was broken. I was, you know, financially broken, and my family had to bail me out, you know. And so being able to talk about, and I felt ashamed about that for many years until a doctor helped me understand what happened to me, and it wasn't my fault, or you know, but other people have come up to me and talked to me about their own mental health challenges, having, you know, their car repossessed or filing for bankruptcy, and I think those are particular aspects, especially when you talk about money, something that is still so taboo and secret and private, and so I love digging into those things that people avoid talking about, and that people will feel seen, because I think if people have faced chronic health issues, mental health issues, the chances that money has been affected, you know, they're present, you know, and so yeah, I think I feel really it's a deep feeling of connection if people can feel seen by those. Yeah.
One thing that really one thing that bothers me, and a thing that I wish was better, is because of the way that we've set up our society with money and working, and the way that we do everything, it's very hard for people with chronic illness, whatever it is. It's often very hard for them to participate in you know, fully, like in the economy, or in you know what I mean, kind of in the things that we do. Like I know great people that can do great things, but they can't do it 40 hours a week.
Yep.
And so, but that's not really, we're not set up for that, you know? We're not set up to say, hey, this person can be super productive 10 hours a week. What can this person do? Like, it's not really how the world works. Unless I had a friend who was an actuary, top of his class, you know, Governor General's award winner, at Great West Life, which is, I guess, Canada Life now. And not long after he started getting sick, and he had a mysterious chronic illness, and went everywhere, Mayo Clinic, you know, everywhere, and did all the things, and took all the drugs and home remedies and all the things, and eventually he got like better than he had been, and it was from, I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter how he did it, but because he worked at Great West or Great West Life, they couldn't just, because they're an insurance company, they couldn't just sack him, right? Because they have a, you know, so he did a thing where, you know, he had like a modified work schedule, like for a long time, where he started working this much, you know, like, but it was years before he was working full time again. But he was lucky in that he was able, like I said, he was at a place where that was possible. Yeah. And whereas a lot of places, I mean, if you can't work, you're going to get the sack.
Absolutely. My first show is actually revolves largely around that, because I wanted to be a designer, that I heard about, you know, people sleeping, like junior designers sleeping under their desks. And, you know, if you're in advertising, it's like, oh, the brief is due tomorrow, and stay up all night. I mean, I knew it was a culture where if I had like a flare up or a relapse, I wouldn't be able to deal with it. And so I got into academia because longer timelines. Like you definitely have to produce, but you can hide in there. Or I could. And so I went into the professor world because I felt like it was a place where if I got sick for a period, that I could make it up.
Yeah.
Basically.
And if you're teaching undergrads, you could probably be half dead and do that.
Oh, goodness. No, they keep me on my feet, actually, very much.
What do you teach?
Graphic design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is, we've been talking in some of our interviews, conversations about AI, because it's kind of like driving me fucking crazy. And there's many things that are bothersome about it. But one is that, a big one is, of course, the fact that they're all trained on stolen work is the biggest thing.
Absolutely.
But then
it angers me every day.
But then the fact that it's so hard, it's getting so hard to tell whether it's writing or whether it's art, graphics. It's hard to tell what's real and what's not real. And I'm pretty good at all that stuff. And I'll sometimes I'll watch, like a video, I'll watch half of something before I figure out that it's not real. And I get mad at myself that I didn't figure it out, because I like getting mad at myself. But also most people are less discriminating than I am. Like most people, like older people can't, boomers, people on social media are sharing all this stuff. And I'm always like, oh, AI slop, hey, this is AI slop. Even like kind of, I don't know, things that seem sort of benign, or sort of like people are using AI for pointless, like a thing that could be real, but they've made it an AI thing because they wanted to see, cats sliding down a clear tube in somebody's living room or whatever, right? Like a thing maybe somebody could have done. But when I tell people sometimes, I've told people and they're like, oh, well, I don't care. I just like it. I've never used ChatGPT or any of those things.
I haven't either, actually.
But you see, what I'm talking about. Like people use it just for goofing around. And there's even, I haven't seen any, but I know that sometimes, have you seen any Fringe posters that were made with AI? You must have.
Yeah, there is, people will post, if your poster is AI, I'm not coming to your show.
Yeah.
It's a thing I've seen posted around by artists. I think AI is complicated. AI is complicated because, and then let us list the reasons. But one of the reasons is it's moving at such, breakneck speed that the industry, society, certainly education are all trying to figure out what's happening at the exact same time. And so we're still modifying AI policy at the institution. In my classes, AI is not permitted for any kind of visual creation. It's absolutely not allowed. And also not for writing, except for translation, because we have a lot of international students. But I can tell AI writing because it's always sounds incredibly smart, but makes no sense. The ideas aren't there. I heard someone say recently, and I loved it, that it was kind of outsourcing your thinking. Because writing isn't about communicating, it is about thinking. And if you're a writer, you know that. And so if you're not writing, you're not actually developing the cognitive skills. And at a university level age, that is scary. It is essential for them to be able to do that.
There's a really funny bit where the thing is, the conceit is, if people could only communicate using ChatGPT. So somebody goes into a store and he asks a thing, and the thing tells him what to say to the guy, and then the guy does the same thing, and then it just escalates into this whole thing where they end up calling the police because it's it turns into a threat. And yeah, it's I do think I agree that I'm not. I don't actually think. I don't think. I mean, I don't think we're going to get rid of it, and I don't think it's all completely useless. Like, as I've got really bad arthritis, so I use voice to text all the time because I have such a terrible time typing, and that
Yeah, I do too.
that I presume is AI, right? That's some version of AI where it is.
I don't know, because voice recognition software has been around for a long time.
It's better than it used to be.
Yeah, okay.
So I think it must be.
I'm not sure.
But anyway, so I mean, there certainly are. I really approve of anything that increases accessibility for people.
Yeah.
That's great.
I could say as well, I think if it's used, I think also as well, like if it's used in a tool and I'm not taking away something that could be developing you or taking away someone's job, then it feels ethically okay. So I can tell you that I used within Photoshop they have AI tool within Photoshop. I can't remember what it's called, and I highlighted my hair because when I did this photo shoot, I had dark hair, and I said make it blonde. So this blonde hair is in fact AI generated. So I do think that if you're working within a tool and doing something that you would have done anyways with Photoshop, it feels okay to me. But I think it's an ethical line that a lot of people have to figure out for themselves.
And I don't think that particular tool was probably not trained on people's art and people's writing.
No.
You know what I mean? This was trained in a different way, right? I mean, it's not because the thing is the people that are in charge of all these companies are so rich and so amoral. One of the big uses is for like drones and stuff. I mean, so some of it is quite. Who was it? It was the U.S. military. I can't think what company it was, but the U.S. military wanted to use this company's AI to make just like independent drones, and the company was against it, not because they were against it in principle, but they just said, well, the software's not ready. This isn't ready for it. We can't. But I mean, something like that, like, do we want armed drones that are running on some AI that's not ready? That certainly is a bit frightening. So I mean, there's so many things that it sort of encapsulates.
Well, AI needs so much oversight. I mean, even if you use AI to help with your writing, unless you're a strong writer, you're in trouble because you need to be able to edit it. If you use it for anything, you need a human oversight. AI doesn't produce good end results. And so, but we're in a really weird time and a scary time, I think, for a lot of professions, definitely visual arts, but a lot of other areas, lawyers, doctors, everything. So.
Well, and some of that stuff, like I think, I know that I've been reading like journalists on Substack and whatever, and I know that that some people have been using lawyers and investigative journalists have been using AI tools to sort through the Epstein files because there's so many pages, so something like that, where if a person was to do it, it would take like a million years. And now one person can do that. And again, I don't really think those seem different than the AIs that were trained by scraping people's writing and scraping people's art, which is this huge problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like now we all have to be experts in AI, and then we have to keep up with it. And so suddenly there's this huge other area and knowledge base that we have to educate ourselves on. But I think everyone has to figure out the ethics of it for themselves, for sure, and definitely for me as an educator. And so, but it's a moving target, and I'm still figuring it out for sure. I think like a lot of people.
I've been saying that I think that the last bastion against AI is live performance, because
Yeah, I hear
you
that.
know, just to bring it back around to where
Yeah.
we started. But I think because you can fake recorded music, you can fake
Yep.
videos, but when you're up there,
Yeah.
you know, in front of your 60 or 100 people or whatever, you're just you. You're it. There's no. It's analog, baby. I mean, there's no, you know. What's the difference for you with the energy that you get from an audience versus the energy? Energy.
That's a good slip.
Yeah. The energy you get from a classroom.
Oh, well, the classroom, yeah. I mean, I think the classrooms prepared me for being on the stage, and so I've had years of having to be in front of people, and so it wasn't a difficult transition for me. How is it different? I think even though both are paying to be there, you know, officially, I think theater audience have a real buy-in ahead of time.
Yeah.
You do have to bring them in and say, okay, let's take this journey together. But I think that work is always harder with university student audiences. I teach also core classes that are required. Have to deal with, you know, students on phones or, you know, gaming
Yeah.
in the class, you know, and so it can be harder to, you have to develop real techniques to hold their attention. And actually, I have sections of my classes. There's a notebook required in my class, and we have sections of like no digital in the class, just so that we're actually just engaging human to human. Because also after the pandemic, where all the teaching was digital, we're all back in person, and we have to be able to, engage in that energy. It's magical.
Yeah, but you must be seeing, if you're doing undergrads, it's 2026, you're seeing the results of those, you know, people that stayed home for 2 of their 3 years of high school. That couldn't have been great for people's social development and all kinds of different things. I mean, what do you think? I've been sort of, you know, I've been reading about the loneliness epidemic or whatever, and you know how you know, the kind of people tied into that. But like, what do you? I mean, do you notice anything from?
It's hard to say, but I think that the reliance on digital tools was, you know, increased hugely during the pandemic, and so engaging with, you know, colleagues and teachers was happening in a digital environment, and so. Like I said, I'm very passionate about bringing students into a real space. And it's difficult because teaching graphic design, everyone has to have a laptop, and we do a lot of digital work. And so always trying to pull back into the physical space, I think, is an uphill battle post-pandemic, but just in general with the reliance on digital tools. And actually, one of my favorite assignments that I teach, because I teach data visualization, so like making graphs and communicating statistics through graphics, and one of their favorite assignments is they have to create physical representations of statistics, and so students will, let's say, weave graphs or you know, create clothing, let's say, that represents you know, let's say maybe, well, serious statistics can be like sexual assault statistics or anything like that, and you know, they might put it on a dress, and then you have to, you know, engage with it physically. And so I think for me the big challenge is bringing all students into a physical space, and our bodies are, and minds are, they're designed for a deep engagement with all of our senses working together, tactile, cognitive. And so to be able to bring students into a physical space, they actually learn better. And so, yeah, that's the thing that I push up against a lot.
So then, having done all that teaching, you must have some different tools for yourself that are transferable in theater for like when you're dying up there, or when you like you just kind of like lose it, like you kind of are just over here. What do you do to bring yourself back?
I think for me, it's totally innate now. Like it's deeply innate because I think there is an expectation that the professor knows everything, and that was really scary for me at the beginning because I was like, I don't know everything, and I still don't. But you have to be careful with your words because you can't pull them back. And, they're young people, they're there, you have to think on your feet really well. And so I think that kind of training, being able to think about any question thoughtfully and then give your best answer, it's just confidence. But not freaking out, just taking that beat, like taking a beat.
So when you're doing your shows, are you just like on all the time, or do you ever have to just kind of like pull yourself back a little bit, or just take that beat when you're up on stage?
Every once in a while, could happen once in a show or no times in a show. I might, transitions are the hardest, I think. And so if it isn't a logical step between one idea and the next, sometimes your mind won't go there, even if it's quite practiced. And so every once in a while, I have a moment where I think, I'm not sure what's next. And then I just pause and think, and it comes. And I think you just can't panic. And they won't notice because for you, you're just pausing for a moment. It's like a normal pause between thoughts, and you have to not freak out.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day, about how you really have to screw up really bad for anybody to notice, because people don't know what is supposed to happen.
No.
So, it's, and if you, we were talking about the temptation to point it out, depending on what kind of, depending on what kind of thing you do, and you don't really want to do that.
No, it's, I think the strongest performers, and I love watching really seasoned performers because I learn so much when they make errors on stage, and they just roll right through it. It's gorgeous, and so, and that's what you have to do because we're human and it's live, and sometimes the mouth might stumble or shift to the wrong word, and you just have to keep rolling, and it's really not a big deal. And so it sounds weird that I love to watch performers make mistakes, but I do, because I love to see the grace, in which they handle it. And then when you make an error, because we're not robots, it doesn't matter. If you lose your confidence, then they lose confidence in you, and then they can't enjoy the show anymore. So,
do you have more fringes coming up?
Yeah, I'm going to Saskatoon. I'm really jazzed. I hear it's a very hip fringe.
Oh, hip.
So, yeah. I'm going to Saskatoon, and then I'm going to do a few shows in Toronto. Actually, I've never performed my full hour in Toronto, so that's where I live. So I'm looking forward to hometown shows, and then that's it.
Do you want to see anything while you're here? Other people's shows?
Oh God, I have such a huge. Do I have it with me? No, I never have what I need in my bag.
But there's so many things in there.
Yeah, I know, right? I have a big list. I saw Happy Valley. I'm seeing Lover Girl, who's a friend and a fellow storyteller from Toronto. Funny thing about men. And I'm seeing Oversharer today. And so I really, and I'm seeing Erica's show about, not about tea, but about tea. So I really love, because I like learning about my own craft, I love to watch the solo storytellers.
Well, right now as we're filming this, we're about almost halfway through Fringe, and I always ask everybody at the end if they're going to go see something. There's so many shows.
Yeah.
I don't barely even hear the same show twice. I mean, so that's great because there really is something for everybody. People should go see Who's Gonna Push Your Wheelchair, which is over at Rachel Brown, which is just up the stairs from the Samosa place, and
And an accessible venue, which is great.
Accessible, which is very good, well, we sat here. We did the whole time. We sat here. It's like an hour. And I was like, oh, we're going to be so boring. We're going to be done in 20 minutes. But
never.
There you go.
This has been great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming by, Karin,
Thanks for having
Fekko. And thanks so much to you for stopping by. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you. Check out all our other interviews on our YouTube channel. And you're probably there already, so you can go back and see the rest. We have I thought I was wearing a shirt and I could point to it, but we have a slogan here for our project, which is Art Will Save Us All. Should we say that together and we'll send the people off? Okay.
Yeah. Is it on 3 or what?
I don't know. What do you want to do?
We'll just feel it.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Art will save us all. Very cute. Thank you.